So here we are on the Zen Arbitrage software, and there's some things that I like about this software a little bit better. It's a little bit of a different setup, although it's very, very similar, okay? Same thing with the eFlip software. You're gonna basically be setting all the different levers. They're just sideways, and they look a little bit different, right? Now, there's some other main things that I like about this, and I'll show you them as we move along. But one of the benefits of this is that you can see built in to check your restriction, right? So if you click this on any one of these, what I used to recommend on eFlip is, okay, if you sort the ISBN over here and you right click the ISBN, or you go through and you check to see if a book's profitable, okay, great. You just spent, 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes if you run really, really slow, or maybe 2 minutes if you're really, really fast, and check to see if the book was profitable and if you could buy it and if you could sell it, right? And all those good things, right? But then you had to check to see if you were able to sell it by copying the ISBN and putting it in your Seller Central to make sure that you could actually sell it. But the whole thing there is you're spending maybe 5 minutes initially ahead of time to check the book and then see if you can sell it. So you might, if God forbid you check the book and you found a profitable book that you spent like 2 to 5 minutes on, well, you might have just wasted that 2 to 5 minutes when you found out that you weren't able to actually sell that. So Zen Arbitrage has actually formatted into their software a built-in way to check that ahead of time so that you can basically see whether or not you're eligible to actually sell that before you even look into the book, right? So before we actually jump into the levers here, let me show you what I mean. So if you click this little 3-button thing, it's going to say check restriction right here, and you're simply going to hit check restriction. Then it's going to pop up, assuming you were signed into your Amazon seller account. It is going to pop up really fast with your Amazon seller account, the ISBN already in your seller account, so that you can see just with one click on this check restriction if you're able to sell it, right? If you're not able to sell it, so let's assume that I was not able to sell this, even though clearly I am, right? I can sell it in new condition, I can sell it in collectible, I can sell it in used, right? And you'll obviously see that right here. If you're unable to sell it, it will tell you, okay? If you are able to sell it, then you'll be able to hit sell this product on that condition, okay? Now, if, for God forbid, I wasn't able to actually sell that, well, then I could literally just mark it as seen, boom, and then I know to avoid that product already because I've already looked into it. And it only took me about 5 to 10 seconds to already identify that that was not a profit or a book that I can potentially source because I'm gated. So why even waste my time? Then I can simply avoid all the ones I've already seen before. You can also mark them as bought if you want to mark them as bought in the quantity that you actually purchased. Although I don't usually ever do that. I just kind of click mark as seen or not, okay? So it's a really cool way to kind of integrate into the software to save you a bunch of time. And in online arbitrage, or any reselling game, the amount of clicks that you can save yourself, the amount of time that you can save yourself sourcing ends up being a game changer and is going to make you more money. So one more, just kind of recap. Let's click the second one, the 3 prongs down, check restriction, and it's going to pull that actual book up in my seller account and tell me ahead of time, okay, I'm able to sell it. So now it might be worth to actually look into. If I did that and it told me I wasn't able to sell it, well, then I'd simply mark it as seen and be like, okay, I can't sell this. So there's no point to even look into it. Okay. So that's that with that. Now to actually get to the product detail page from Zen Arbitrage Software, you want to click the ISBN right here, and that's going to take you to the used detail page of that Amazon book specifically, right? Just like eFlip would. Now to get to the normal detail page, you want to right click and go open a new tab, and that way you can basically compare the used offers to the new to the used offers on this page, or the new to the new on bookfinder. Okay, so I'm going to run you through an entire tutorial and actually source with you here in a second if you don't understand what I'm saying right now to you. But if you want to look for the bookfinder, which is basically going to pull you up all different kinds of opportunities where this book is selling outside of Amazon, right, that you can potentially buy cheaper on another marketplace and then resell back on Amazon and keep the markup and profit for yourself, right? That's how you make money. Then the bookfinder is right here on BF. Okay, now there's also calculator integrations, but I don't really use that. What I usually use is the AMZ Scout calculator right here. It's a free plugin, and I also recommend Jungle Scout. That's going to show you all the sales velocity of a book because, yeah, if you're on the detail page, right, then you can scroll down and see like, okay, this is 150 in books. It's selling really, really well, right? Or, okay, this is 80,000 in books. Or, okay, this is 220,000 in books. It's selling half decently. But to actually get a legitimate, estimate of the actual sales rank, and I'm going to sign in here in a second, then you need Jungle Scout because it's going to show you. So let me pop over and show you an example of that sales rank. All right, so we're back on the detail page and I've signed it in Jungle Scout. Let me show you exactly how this kind of works, okay? So now I hit Jungle Scout on the detail page and it's going to literally tell me this is selling 27 a month, or about 788 monthly sales, with the monthly revenue coming in when it sells, right? So it's going to give me the amount of sales every single month. Now, that's not 100% set in stone, right? It's just the best estimate based on this book and its current sales rank in that current category. But this is invaluable because it's going to literally tell you full stop, like, hey, this is selling and this is how many a day and this is how many a month, right? It's going to take all the guesswork out of it for you. And I highly recommend that. That way you're not risking, trying to analyze Keepa charts or look at the sales rank and doing anything like that. Like, no, this literally tells you this is selling or no, this is not selling, right? It takes all the guesswork out of it. I'll actually link Jungle Scout as well if you want to check it out, okay? So I highly recommend that. Now let's go through some of the levers and actually setting this up. If you want to take out some of this other kind of, not BS, but like unnecessary stuff in here, like the publisher or the trade-in value, if you're not doing any of that, then you'll see this little tab right here says advanced view and you click it on and off. If you want to kind of get some of those little, columns out, just go over and click the advanced view off and it'll make it a little bit easier to kind of manage for you, okay? So this is pretty much the same as eFlip, although it's just a slightly different interface. And I kind of like the way that this is set up a little bit differently. And I was sourcing with this for about an hour earlier, and I found about 10 books that were all profitable that I'm super excited about. So this is a highly, highly, highly valuable tool, just like eFlip, where you can literally get spoon-fed book leads that are profitable that you can buy on one marketplace super cheap and then ship into Amazon FBA and make the markup and profit, okay? It's invaluable. So what I basically first like to do is I'll go average rank. Now, sometimes I'll go, and remember guys, this is average rank, okay? So it might be higher than this, it might be lower than this at the time, and when you actually set this, it will tell you the average rank right here and what it is. But when you actually click the ISBN, that rank might be very different, right? So like this, for example, let's pull it up to show you. 407 is the average rank on this second book. But if we click the ISBN, chances are it probably isn't 407 in books, right? It's probably, 500 or 300 or something. So let me show you an example. So we scroll down and I'll show you it is 572 in books, right? So the average rank is 407 because it fluctuates, but that's just giving you a best indicator of the average rank. So make sure that you do look at that as well, or you can just take all the guesswork out of it by using, like I said, Jungle Scout. So I like to start really low, or not necessarily really low, like 5,000 or lower or 10,000 or lower, because some of those you might be gated for on, as Amazon does actually gate you on a lot of the top ranked books. So maybe let's start with like something like 100,000 or lower, just so I can, give you examples. Let's even go 200,000 or lower, just so I can kind of give you some examples so that we're not like wasting your time on this tutorial. But obviously, if I were sourcing this to actually be profitable, I would start lower first. So maybe I'd go like 10,000 or lower because I'm ungated with a lot of textbooks. For you, maybe you want to go 30,000 or lower, 50,000 or lower. Now, I've sold books all the way up to about 500,000, but I don't recommend that because you can be waiting on them for a decent amount of time. But hey, if the profit margin is like 100 or 200 or even 300 bucks, it might be worth it to wait a couple months for that profit margin if you're buying a book for 40 bucks and then shipping into Amazon, and then 3 months later it sells for 280. Well, worth it in my opinion, right? It all depends on your cash flow, how much money you're willing to put up, and how long you're willing to wait for those books, okay? You need to use your judgment accordingly. So let's go 200,000 just so I don't waste your time. You can click textbook only on if you want. I'm not going to. You can also filter with a little bit more results per page, although I'm not going to. And you can also sort by used price or new price, which basically filters it right here, but I don't really ever do that as well. I just kind of go through them here and there. And for me specifically, what I like to do is I don't actually sit here and spend like 8 hours a day sourcing, right? I don't even usually spend like an hour a day sourcing. What I'll do is I'll hop on this and I only make a few extra grand a month doing this with books, because generally speaking, I'm doing other things in my online arbitrage business, although I love this software and I love book flipping because for all these reasons that I'll demonstrate, right? But what I actually like to do is when I have some downtime, right? Maybe I'm sitting there watching TV, and in between commercials, I'll start scanning books to find something, right? You find one book, maybe you make 50 bucks. You find another book, maybe you make another 30 bucks. You find another book, bam, you got really lucky there. You made a $200 book margin because you found one, right? So I don't sit here and source this for like hours and hours every single day. It's just something I do on the side, and you can make great money if you do it on the side. But obviously, if you want to, scale this up to a full-time income, then you can make phenomenal money if you actually do it. But you do need a little bit of money to start, obviously, for the actual Zen Arbitrage software and obviously to actually get into books, right? So I'll actually drop a link as well if you guys are interested. There's a 14-day free trial for Zen Arbitrage. Hop on this, guys. This software, I'm telling you, is a great opportunity. So enough of my BS and kind of explaining. Let's jump into the tutorial, right? So what I'm going to do is use price. I'm just going to put a little bit of a use price here so we know that there's an offer of like 10 cents, and I'll go maybe with the use price, we want like 25 bucks there as a max, right? And people always ask me like, what are the best levers, whether you're doing eFlip or Zen Arbitrage, what are the best settings? And my answer is like, there really aren't any. I like to change them up every single time. And the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And you'll start to see like why you want to set levers up the certain way. You can kind of copy mine a little bit and then just change them slightly if you want. But ultimately, you want to change the levers every single time because it's going to give you different looks of different potential books that you might not have seen before and other people might not be seeing as well, right? So Amazon's price, let's go like from, I don't know, we'll go 10 bucks to all the way up to a top. And like the new price actually will go to like, we'll go for 25 bucks, right? Or you know what? Let's actually go 35 bucks. Minimum, okay? And then with the new offers, we want at least one new offer. We can't click this down. Well, we can't. Oh, there's no minimums. Okay. So it's not like eFlip where you can actually put the one up here, although I could have sworn I was doing that earlier, but whatever, we'll just roll with it. But really that all that matters right here is you don't want to be competing against too many people necessarily, in my opinion. So with new offers, which I'm going to only source for new offers here, although you can also source for used offers. I'll show you how to actually do that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go like, okay, I don't really want to be competing with like more than 20 new offers on a landing page, right? Or on a listing. You can go 10. You can even type in another number here if you want to go like 3 and go like really low. What I like to do usually is I'll go really, really, really specific, right? Like 30,000 or lower or 10,000 or lower. And then like 3, and then like make these like really, really low and then see what pops up. And then I'll go through all those books and find the good ones, right? And then I'll slowly broaden it out to like, okay, 50,000 or lower, and like maybe like 10 listings that I'm competing with, right? And I'll slowly broaden it out and see what kind of pops up. But for the sake of just showing you, let's just kind of go like, we'll go 30 offers or lower. And then we're going to apply the filters, okay? And what you're going to see is the software is actually going to reboot and spit you out all these different ones. So you've seen like, I've already sourced these two that it's shown me already, or I've actually looked at them before. So it kind of marks it. I kind of like that as well. So we're just literally going to roll down the list. Now, sometimes, and it depends here, but some indicators, the best indicators that I found are the ones with the biggest discrepancy from used price to new price. That does not always indicate a profitable buy. In fact, it can actually indicate an unprofitable buy or a buy that you might want to stay away from. But if you're strapped for time, that's what I'd recommend that you go for. But just to kind of show you, I'm just going to kind of willy-nilly go down and start sourcing some so that you get an idea of, hey, this is a good book and why, this is a bad book and why. So you see all the different opportunities and not just the good ones, right? I haven't set this up. I have no idea what's going to pop up. I'm going to sort through this like I would any other time. And the average rank right here is 174. Remember, I would have put it down a little bit lower, but just for the sake of kind of showing you different book opportunities, I want to keep it high, right? First thing I'm going to do is what? Go over to 3 tabs and check the restriction. So am I restricted? Should I even waste my time looking at this book? As a new book, okay, I can sell it. As a used book, okay, I can sell it. Now that we know that it's worth my time to actually look into, let's look into it, okay? So we're going to click the ISBN here. We're actually going to come back as well and click the bookfinder. Now you can hover over bookfinder and it's going to show you a preview. I personally just like to click it and kind of see it in my own tab. But the first thing I'll do on most landing pages is actually check to see if there's a discrepancy in the used price and the used buy box, right? So the cheapest used price, this is one way to make money flipping books on Amazon. Discrepancies from used prices, right? So there's many used offers and the used buy box. Although keep in mind that the used buy box tends to fluctuate because there's typically, not always, a lot more used offers on the buy box, right? So like here's a used offer for like $5.98 is the lowest, but the buy box right now is sitting at $13.40. So potentially there's a profit margin there if you want to calculate it. Although keep in mind that this could drop to one of the other used offers at any given time and be like $8, right? So it's not as surefire when you're sourcing used books, although there are opportunities there, right? So, and one of the biggest indicators is like when the cheapest one right here is in FBM, right? So it's not a prime offer and it's really, really low. And the buy box is a prime offer. The used buy box price is a prime offer and it's higher. And there's a lot of other prime offers that are all the same price. Probably a good indicator, okay? But I don't want to get too much into that because I've covered that in other eFlip tutorials as well if you want to check them out. But for right now, I just kind of want to introduce you to that concept again. So we're going to look at the buy new prices for all these, and we're just going to move through them quickly so you get good examples. I've been buying a lot of new books right now currently because A, I'm trying to increase my book inventory because FBA is kind of open back up for books now after the whole thing with the coronavirus. And B, we're approaching another textbook season. So it is a phenomenal chance to get into books right now so you can make a ridiculous amount of money. I spent a couple grand last book season because it was like really my first real book season, and I tripled my money, okay? Now, you can basically do the same thing with books this time, buy them super cheap now, and then during textbook season, when it launches, I'll drop the actual picture of, what textbook season is and when it actually opens so that okay, source ahead of time for textbook season, and then once textbook season opens, all those books will sell super, super quickly at high profit margins because the demand is so much higher because all students need textbooks because they're going back to new classes, okay? So the new buy box price right here is $45. I always like to stay conservative. So like when I'm estimating about shipping or my price, I'll go higher, right? When I'm estimating about sourcing, I'll go lower. Or I think what I said just makes sense, hopefully. So I'm going to assume that this is $45 or $46, right? So, or 45, excuse me, to be a little bit conservative, okay? Now, what can I source this for? Always make sure that it's coming from the US and it's not an international or an instructor edition, okay? If you're sourcing in the US, that is, okay? If you're sourcing somewhere else, then that makes it a little bit different. Now, for the US, this is an offer right here to buy it for $18. So probably a decent opportunity, but the first thing that I want to check is A, is it an international edition? B, is it an instructor edition? C, is it the same exact edition? And then I'll look at the potential profit margin, right? So this is the first edition of this, and a thumbnail can be an indicator, although it's not always the same indicator, okay? So here we are with $45. I can source it for $18, so let's click on it and see if it's a good offer, okay? Now remember, first edition, it looks like this. Let's check it out. First edition, it says this is brand new. I don't see any first edition here, so I want to check. Okay, remember, I want to check to see if it's the first edition. I want to make sure it's not the instructor's edition, and I also want to make sure that it's not an international edition. So usually, it's a little bit easier to see here. If we click on this and we zoom in, this is the series editors. I don't see first edition. Go away. Also go away. Copy number 7. This might be an instructor's edition because I don't see first edition on here. So copy number 7. Yeah, that might be an instructor's edition. Copyrighted material. Cockburn, Highsmith. I don't know. So one thing this usually they're pretty much set, like kind of cut and dry. Like you'll be able to tell pretty relatively easily. But because I'm having a little bit of trouble here, what I would do is I'd spend a little bit of time and I'd look through this to make sure that it is actually the first edition and not an instructor's edition. Now, one of the benefits is I did not actually see instructor edition on this first one or international edition, so that's a good sign. But one thing to make sure that I definitely like to do is I'll look at the seller to see if they're a seller that has good feedback and a long history of selling on eBay or whatever site it is, then generally I'll trust them a little bit more. But I'll also open a search tab. So on PC, it's Control F to search. On Mac, I'm not sure what it is, but there's a way to search as well. And I'll literally type in international, right, and see if something pops up. So, okay, international, nothing pops up, meaning in this entire description, I didn't have to read it. There's no mention of international at all, okay? Now, is there instructor? Okay, no, there's no instructor, okay? And you won't have to do this on a lot of them because on the thumbnail of the thing, it'll literally be like, oh, second edition. And you'll see like second edition. And then you'll know firsthand like, okay, it's the same edition, right? But always make sure if you have a little bit extra time, okay? So this is brand new. It's not the instructor. It's not the international. And it should be the same edition. And it's a trusted seller. So chances are I can kind of buy with them from trust because if they're advertising that it's new and it's the not the instructor's edition, and then you get it and it happens to actually be, you can always return it as like an inaccurate website description. But chances are if they're a vetted seller and they actually have good feedback, then you can kind of take them at their word a lot of times and you won't run into that problem. So this then becomes, with free shipping and $18, this then becomes a good opportunity to buy this, right? Because I can resell it for $45 potentially. There's only 12 new offers. The cheapest one is $37. I can always, on the product detail page, use another online seller add-on right here. So it's a free Google plugin that's going to tell me all the different offers on there. whether they're used, whether they're new, and whether they're FBA. So it's a cool little plugin that you can use. It's free, or you can simply go over to the little, by clicking like the other offers and then sort over here on the right. So I want to see like who I'm competing against when I ship this into FBA, right? So I'm competing against new sellers, not used, but I'm also only competing really against the prime offers because I plan on shipping it into FBA. And oh, would you look at that? I'm only competing against one person, and it is Amazon. So chances are if I ship this into FBA, I'm going to share the buy box with Amazon at about $45, okay? So let's go back to the actual detail page then and see what my potential profit margin is if I buy this for 18 bucks and then I ship it into FBA and sell it for 45. So we're going to use our little AMZ Scout calculator right here. And we say we're going to source it for 18 bucks. Shipping into FBA is going to be like 50 cents because I never ship one-off books. I always ship them all in together. So the product price, if I sell it used, or I sell it new, excuse me, is, let's drag this over, 45 bucks. This is what I mean by staying conservative. So I'm not going to assume that I can sell it for 45.57. I'm going to assume maybe the price drops a little bit and it drops down to 45 bucks, okay? So if I buy it for 18 bucks, even if it costs me $1 to ship it into FBA, and we want to be a little conservative, and even if I only sell it for 45 bucks, I'm still going to make $12.53. So I'm turning 18 bucks into $12.53 by buying this and reselling it on Amazon. Boom. That's a profitable book. It literally took me, what, I don't know, a minute or two to actually get that. It took me about 10 minutes to demonstrate it because I was going through the software, but I would have already bought this about 10 minutes ago, and I'd been on the like this book down here and checking a bunch of others. So that's an example of a profitable book that I'm actually going to go ahead and buy. I'm actually going to copy this bad boy right here, and I'm going to create a shortcut. So I remember one of the things I used to do actually when I'm creating these tutorials, and I actually found one that I liked, right, was I'd be like, oh, I'll go back to that later. But then I didn't realize, like, going through the software, it actually forgets the book, right? So I'm actually going to go, I'm going to wait for this to be over, and then I'm actually going to go ahead and buy that afterward from $18 from this seller, okay? Now, one of the other things that because I'm willing to wait, this might be a little bit of a higher book. So it is 120. That's not too bad at all. So 120,000 in books sells pretty well. But let's use the Jungle Scout Chrome extension to make sure. So daily sales of 7, 219 monthly sales, pretty solid buy in my opinion. I can buy this, make, decent money, about 12 bucks pretty quickly doing this. Now, another thing you could do is also check to see if there's other opportunities to buy a new book here. And you can also see the other used offers over here, right? So this is a little bit higher at 28. I probably wouldn't go after that, and it might not even be profitable, okay? This is another opportunity for you to buy used books over here on the right. So if you go right here, it's selling for $4.11 on eBay. You might be able to ship that into FBA and make a little bit of money on the used book, but I probably wouldn't go that route as well, okay? So I'm going to save this one for later. I'm going to actually buy that, okay? Let's run through one more example since I didn't expect to find, a profitable book right away like that, but let's kind of see. So one more example, we'll run through it pretty fast, is study manual for this test thing right here. So first thing I'm going to do is click this right here and see if I'm restricted, because I don't want to waste my time if I'm restricted. Okay, perfect example of me being restricted. Okay, so that's I'm really glad that I'm using the Zen Arbitrage software and it tells me that ahead of time, so I didn't waste another 5 to 10 minutes showing you something that I was restricted for, right? Or waste my time sourcing. It literally says not available. I'm not allowed to do that, okay? So next one is, we'll mark that as seen, so I know not to waste my time on that in the future. Leadership without easy answers. Can I sell this one? Okay, I can sell this one as new. I can sell this as used. Boom, this is a good opportunity, right? So I'm going to X out of this. I already know I can sell it. So then let's mark this as seen and we'll go through it. So leadership without easy answers. It's got an average rank of about 70,000. So we're going to click the ISBN. We're also going to come back and click the bookfinder, and then we're going to start sourcing. So I'm going to right click and open this in a new tab. And I'm going to look at the cheapest used opportunity to buy this, which is about 19 bucks about 19 bucks. So the used buy box is a little bit under that, so there's no opportunity to buy this used. Is there an opportunity? Remember, I'm not sourcing for this like right now, but I just want to kind of show you all the opportunities here. It's selling as the used buy box is $17.98. What's the opportunity to buy it here? Okay, you probably could buy it on eBay for $4.93 and ship it in and maybe get the used buy box. Although keep in mind, this could fluctuate because there could be other offers on here as other used offers, right? So if like I went to the other used offers, or I just use my online seller add-on right here and see, So, or you can go like 88 used all the way down to 231. So keep in mind that like that could fluctuate. It might not be by the time you ship it into FBA, it might not actually be 18 bucks. Okay. So there's a lot of moving parts with used books. I don't want to get into it right here. Let's try to source it with new right here. So 38 bucks is the used buy or the new buy box price. Excuse me. What is it selling for on Bookfinder? The cheapest opportunity to buy this on Bookfinder is $28.51. So that is probably a bad buy, right? Because it's not going to be profitable. Let's assume I can buy this for $28.51. If I use the AMZ Scout calculator and I buy it for $28.51, and my shipping cost into FBA is $1. We always like to kind of overestimate, even though it'll probably only cost me like 20 cents. And the product price right here is $38.49. Well, then I'm losing money, right? It's going to tell me that, hey, I'm down $3.52 if I buy this. So it's not a good book. So that's an example. That's a tutorial on how you use Zen Arbitrage. I really hope that this helps you guys out. This is a revolutionary new software that I highly recommend for book flipping arbitrage or just anybody that wants to make money reselling from their actual computer. Now, there's two main ways to make money with this software. One is to buy used FBM books from merchant filling sellers on Amazon, then get them to your house and then ship them back into FBA so that you can sell them higher. Because sometimes you can sell, not sometimes actually, quite often you can sell a book or any item or any product on through FBA at a higher price point, because one of the factors that goes into who gets the buy box is the availability to the customer and how fast that customer can receive the actual book, right? So Amazon gives you a bump, a huge, huge boost in your actual ranking on who can get the buy box if your items are in FBA compared to other FBM sellers, right? So often you can buy a used book from an FBM seller, ship it into FBA, and sell it at a higher price and make money that way. Okay, that's one way. I'm not going to get into that in this tutorial today. This tutorial today will just be buying new books from other websites that are not Amazon, and we'll use this software to find them, and then ship them into Amazon FBA to resell for a profit, okay? One of the things that I love about this software right off the bat, and it has every single thing that you need to know, right? So you can basically mark it if you've seen it. Boom. So mark seen, mark bought if you've actually purchased it, and that will help you kind of track which ones you've seen before. So if you come back and you do this multiple times on like different days, you won't waste your time looking at books that you've already purchased or are already seen, right? Here's the little bookfinder tool. It's okay if you don't understand what any of these are yet. I'll run you through the whole tutorial here in a second, but that's where you can find this on this software right here. And then you can obviously click it and we'll take you to Bookfinder as well, which is a kind of like a built-in software page that shows you different opportunities of where to buy that book outside of Amazon or sometimes Amazon as well. And then one of the things that I really, really like is before, especially with eFlip, I would teach you to go ahead and look at the book and kind of do your research on a potential book that might be a good buy ahead of time, and then see if you can actually sell it. Because one of the things that you want to do on Amazon, you want to go into your Seller Central and see if you're actually able to sell it. Because if you can't sell it, then obviously it doesn't matter how good the margin is. There's no reason to buy it because you're not able to actually sell it back on Amazon, right? So sometimes you would spend like 5 to 10 minutes going through a book and looking through all the different factors to see if it was a good book, only to find out that you're not able to sell it. So thus you just wasted 5 to 10 minutes. With Zen Arbitrage, you can click this little 3 dots right here and see check restriction. And what that's going to do is it's literally going to pop that book up in your Seller Central add a product to tell you right off the bat if you're able to sell it or not. So you're not wasting any time initially checking a book that you have no chance of even selling, right? So if I click that button right there, it's literally going to go 3 dots, check restriction. It's going to open up my Seller Central and tell me if I'm actually able to sell this Alchemist 25th Anniversary ISBN book, right? And then once I find that, okay, I am able to sell it in new condition, or if you're searching for used potentially, okay, I am able to sell this product in used condition, then it's potentially worth my time to actually go ahead and look at it, right? If I clicked one of these and it told me that I wasn't able to sell it, well, then I just mark it as seen so that I don't waste my time looking at that product in the future, right? Or because there's no point for me to check it, I can't sell it, okay? So now let's actually go through the tutorial. Now, one of the things that you'll notice here is you can actually click this thing, this little tab right here, and that's going to give you more kind of columns. I usually don't go to the advanced view. I kind of just do the normal view, and that's going to basically tell you the indicators right here. It's going to kind of delete a few of these columns, so it's a little bit more streamlined and easier to manage, and there's not as much data there to confuse you. You can go advanced if you want, and all that's really going to show you is some other little columns like trade-ins and stuff like that, the publisher, but you don't really care about that stuff. You know, the only thing that might be advantageous to is like some publishers right off the bat, are gated most of the times. So that might help you with that. Also the year, but I'm not too worried about that. Basically what the levers are going to do is they're going to kind of, specify which books the software is going to spit out. And these are the ways that you basically can kind of tell Zen Arbitrage what you're looking for. So it's going to shorten the amount of books that potentially are up here, because right now there's thousands and thousands and thousands search results. So you want to kind of really do it specific initially, so that it's going to shoot you out potential leads that you can then search through to see if you can find a good book. Okay. And people always ask me too, whether I'm going through Zen Arbitrage or eFlip, if, what are the best levers? What are the best settings to get the best types of books and the best potential book leads initially, so that they can basically replicate those, okay? Now, you can kind of do what I'm going to do when I'm showing you here in a second, but ultimately the answer to that question is there is no best answer, okay? You always want to kind of, once you get the hang of like what the levers mean, and the best way to do that is actually start doing it, right? Start pushing some of the levers, watch this tutorial, download Zen Arbitrage, get your free trial, and then start utilizing it and applying the filters and searching through a couple books. You'll learn really quickly what the levers mean by actually doing it. This tutorial will help you, and it will definitely outline everything for you, but ultimately you'll learn so much more by doing, okay? So the short answer is there's no one best, settings or any way to kind of set it up initially. I'll tell you some advantages on how you can basically set it up yourself to find good, responses. But ultimately, you kind of want to play around with it and give different settings in each lever every single time that you go through this software, because you want to get different looks of potential books that other people might not be seeing or that you haven't seen before, okay? First thing I'll set right here is the average rank. So because I'm showing you in a tutorial, I don't want to waste your time, and I want to give you different looks of books. So I'm going to go a little bit high here, like maybe 100,000 or lower to start with, okay? Now, if I were starting just myself and actually sourcing this to make money right now, I would start really, really low, maybe like 10,000 or lower or 30,000 or lower, sort through all those books first, because they're obviously selling very, very quickly. And this right here is bestseller rank if you guys aren't sure. So this is BSR, okay? Now, it's not necessarily relevant for us because we're going to be using Jungle Scout to tell us the product data. We're also going to be using this free Chrome plugin right here, which is AMZ Scout Calculator, which will tell us how much we can actually make on each book minus the FBA fees. You'll also potentially want to download this one. This is also a free plugin. It's online seller add-on. And sometimes, Keepa can be beneficial as well, which is also free as well. So you don't need to pay for Keepa, although there is a paid version of it. I just use the free one. And Keepa actually comes with eFlip. It comes with Zen Arbitrage, and it also comes with some other softwares that I already have downloaded, so I don't even pay for Keepa, okay? So I'm going to start this a little bit more broad, but usually I go specific and then slowly broaden out. So we'll start at like 100,000 or lower. We'll keep all this stuff, sort results, used price. You can change this to new if you want. It doesn't really matter. Or the Amazon price. You can also change this down to 250 if you want to go through it a little bit faster. But for me, again, doesn't really matter, okay? Now, used offers and new offers right here, all you're basically doing is, you're kind of filtering it down to the results that you're going to get, basically telling Zen Arbitrage that, hey, you only want this potential amount of competition on that listing, right? So let's go a little bit more specific. Usually, we'll go 11 new offers and maybe like 20 used offers, or like 25 used offers, okay? Something like that, right? Now, you can go more specific if you want, right? Like you can go like 3 new offers, or, 5 used offers or something like that, right? Now, that might not spit you out very many books, but sometimes I like to go very, very specific and then slowly broaden it out, right? And then go like 12, and then go like 26 or something like that, right? So now we set this all right here. You can also click textbooks only, but I don't ever usually do that. Sometimes I source textbooks. The majority of them will be textbooks anyway, but I also find I don't discriminate against like textbooks or non-textbooks. I'm just trying to find good products, and I just look at books as like another product, right? So I don't care if it's a textbook. I don't care if it's a normal book. I don't care if it's a normal product that you're finding in a retail store. Obviously, you're not going to find those here in the Zen Arbitrage module or the Zen Arbitrage, software right here. But the whole thing I'm saying is like books are just another product to me. So I don't care if they're textbooks or not. So I never check this, okay? It just so happens that the majority of these that it will spit you out will be textbooks, okay? So the used price, I'm going to go, what's the minimum price I want to set my used price at? What's the max? So I'm going to go a little bit so that at least we know that there's, something there. So let's go like 50 cents. And then the max used price will go like maybe like 36. And then Amazon's price, I'm going to set a little bit high. We'll go like 30. We'll go $40. And then the new price will go like 40, sure, 39. Why not? And then we're going to hit apply filters, and you'll see the software is going to do all the work for us, and it's going to return all the books that it finds on Amazon that fit these parameters, okay? Now, there's still going to be a decent amount here, and it does actually only look like there's not that many. So And some of them you've seen that I've already seen before, right? So I could also make this a little bit more specific. I can make it a little bit more broad and see what else comes back for me. But for the sake of not wasting your time and kind of doing it multiple times here, because I plan on creating more tutorials in the future, so you'll see different potential looks of this as well. I'm just going to start sourcing through these, and I haven't set this up at all, so I have no idea what I'm going to find. I'll show you how I actually run through this myself, so how I use it, and then you can obviously replicate it yourself. So now that we've set the parameters and we've gotten our results, right, we need to remember how to actually sort through this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to go down the list right here. So on the right, I'm going to click the 3 dots and I'm going to check my restriction, because remember, if I'm restricted to sell it, then there's no point of me even wasting my time and trying to find it. So I can sell this one as new in new condition. So I'm going to mark it as seen, and I'm going to start actually doing some research on it. Now, remember, we're interested in looking to see if this sells on Amazon for a price that's high enough where we can buy it on a different website and make a profit, right? So we'll mark it as seen. We're going to click the ISBN, which is this right here, is going to take us to the Amazon link where this is actually, selling on Amazon, okay? And it's going to take us to the used page initially. So then we want to click the actual picture of the book to take us to the product detail page. So what is it selling for? Well, it's selling for $42.25, although you don't need to do this, but this is just kind of, I want you to kind of understand the steps in the process, and then you can shortcut them, okay? So once you are on the product detail page, you see it's selling for $42.25. But actually, if you go back to the software, it's already going to tell you right here that it's selling for $42.25. So that's an indicator if you want to go through it really fast and just kind of use these new prices right here. Although sometimes, not always, sometimes they are different than on the actual detail page, because the detail page can change slightly. So always check once you're about to buy it, okay? Makes sense, but I just want to kind of reiterate that. So now we're going to go to find the bookfinder, and we're going to just kind of hover over the BF to see the preview here and use our best judgment if we should look into this a little bit more. Can we buy it for the cheapest price on the left right there? I can't move my mouse or you won't see it, so I'm just going to click on it actually to show you here. But so it's hovering over this page right here is what we're seeing, right? So when I click on it, it's actually going to take us to the page. And so we're interested in this new column over here, the new books, right? Not the used books over here, just the new books for right now. So I can buy this on eBay right now for $22.22. So I need to use my best judgment on whether I think, okay, I can buy it for $22.22. Can I make a profit on it if I buy it from eBay for $22.22? I ship it into Amazon and I sell it for $42.25. Is there still a good profit margin to be made? And is it worth it for me spending $22 to ship it into Amazon and make maybe $5 to $10 after fees, right? So it's worth looking into here. Sometimes you'll see like one that's selling for like $40 on Amazon and one that you're going to buy for like 35 on eBay or something like that, or 35 on another book website. And then clearly it's probably not a great opportunity because there's not much margin there in, to begin with, let alone after the Amazon fees, right? So you'll get better at it and kind of gauging on what you want to actually go through and look for once you start doing this, but it's pretty self-explanatory, right? Now, another thing on the bookfinder right here that you're going to want to make sure of is you want to make sure that it's not an international edition, and you want to make sure that it's not an instructor edition, okay? You want the exact edition that's on the product detail page, and you can't sell instructor edition or international editions when clearly right here it's saying like the 8th edition, right? So you want to find this exact book in the 8th edition, and obviously Bookfinder is pretty spot on about like 95% of the time, but every once in a while it'll be a different edition. It'll say like instructor or international, or it won't be the actual exact edition. It will be like the 7th edition on eBay. So just make sure that you're looking at those, in depth, right? So let's click this little price right here. It's going to take us to eBay and see if we can actually sell this and if it's a good opportunity, right? So the price is relatively the same. It's going to be $13.98 with $3.86 shipping. So that's even a little bit lower than right now. It is the 8th edition, and also make sure that it's not an ebook, which this doesn't look like it's an ebook, because it is obviously charging us shipping. And sometimes I like to look at the seller. The seller is really new, so that's a little bit sketchy, but hey, they still have decent a rating, and they still have 6 ratings. So just something that I like to check out here and there, right? So what I'll do usually, if it's not clear that, it's the international or instructor, is I'll literally click Control F on PC. I don't remember what it is on Mac. It's something like that. Just to open up the search bar, and I'll literally type in like international and see if anything pops up on the page for international, right? Same thing for like instructor, right? And nothing pops up pops up under instructor or international. So I know that in all the specs right here, they haven't put international or instructor edition in the spec somewhere and hidden it in there so that I obviously, find that out later once it's delivered to me. But because they're advertising it as the 8th edition here, if it did show up to your house as international or instructor, you could always return it because they haven't described it properly in the actual listing, right? But that rarely happens. I'm just trying to, tutorial wise kind of teach you all the factors to look for. Obviously I would go through this super fast and do it in like a minute if I wasn't teaching it. Okay. So now everything checks out. What are we going to actually pay for this, right? So about $14 will round up to be conservative plus $4. That ends up being $18 to our door from eBay, right? So if we're paying $18, we're going to ship it into FBA and match the buy box price at $42.25. What is our profit margin here? So if we pull up the Fba calculator, and of course it's not going to work because I'm trying to show a tutorial right now. It's sometimes shoddy. So we're just going to pull up the Fba calculator that Amazon provides us, and we're going to literally put this ISBN in there, and it's going to tell us if we're profitable or not, right? So we're going to paste the ISBN into the Fba calculator here and find that actual book, which I believe is this one, 8th edition, yes. So our item price to us was, I believe, $18. To estimate it, to ship it into FBA, I'm going to say $1, even though usually it's more than $1. And there's no fees here, which is weird. So we'll see that in a second. But so with it usually costs a little bit under $1 because I ship a bunch of books in at once. But you can obviously estimate a little bit higher or a little bit lower depending on how many books or items you're planning on shipping into FBA at once. But I never ship like one-off books in. If I ship just this book into FBA, it would probably cost me like $4 or $5 depending on the FBA center that it told me to ship it into. Okay, so then we're going to sell it for $42.25. I think it was $42.25. And what is our potential profit margin? Oh, I did that backwards. Sorry. So it's been a while since I've actually used this Amazon one. So we'll go $42.25 up here in the item price. That was my mistake. $18, dollar shipping into FBA, and bam, we'll calculate it. So we are profitable. It is $9.65. Okay. So I'm spending $18 to make $9.65, and that's over a 50% margin. So that's pretty good, right? I'm going to spend $18. I'm going to get roughly $42.25, or excuse me, I'm going to get $27.65 back for a $9.65 profit margin. So pretty solid buy right there. Now we also want to make sure that sometimes it's important to look at the Keepa graph and just make sure that there's no fluctuations in price where it's like it's skyrocketed up, and that's not typically like that, or that it's like kind of dropped in price and usually it sells a lot more. Just some kind of indicators, but this looks like it's been pretty consistent since the beginning of March, been right around a $40 buy box new price. So we can pretty much assume that it's gonna roughly stay that way when we ship it in, and then obviously we can match the buy box and it will sell eventually. Now, how fast will it sell? Well, it's 88,000 in books, right? So if we click the junk, obviously we know it's selling very, very well because books move fast and it's under 100,000. But I always like to be sure and kind of get the numbers. So I'm going to actually log it in Jungle Scout because I forgot to, and it's going to tell us the actual sales data for this product. So now we're logged into Jungle Scout, and we're actually going to click the Jungle Scout because I don't like to play guessing games. I'd like to be sure. And it's basically telling us, okay, roughly 8 daily sales, 259 sales a month. Pretty solid buy right here. So I can buy this for $18 on eBay, ship it into Amazon, and resell it for $42 and end up making a rough $10 margin when it's all said and done. So that's a pretty good book. Not the best one in the world, but hey, it's profitable. That's pretty solid, right? So I'm going to mark that as not seen, actually, since that's a good one. Because I want to check that again. And obviously I'm not going to buy it right now while I'm on the tutorial right here, but maybe I'll do it as soon as I'm done. So let's go through and check another one. I didn't expect the very first one to be profitable, but let's check another one. You never know, right? So check restrictions, the first thing I'm going to do, right? Because I want to make sure that it's worth my time, right? I don't waste my time and I can sell this as new, okay? So here we go. We're going to mark this as seen, and we're going to hover over the bookfinder and see, okay, is there a potential discrepancy in price where we can make money, right? New buy box price is $52.87. So if we hover over bookfinder, what does the left column say? $52.87 is the lowest that's selling, right? So there's no margin there, right? So that's not a good potential margin there. Just to kind of show you, if we click the ISBN and we go to the product detail page here, once it loads, the new buy box price is $52.88, right? And if we go back to the bookfinder without hovering, it's going to tell us that obviously there's no margin and it's roughly selling for $52.87, right? So no margin to be made there. Let's check the next one, okay? First thing we do is, not open in all tabs. Didn't mean to do that. we want to check the restriction. And we can sell it in new condition. Boom, that's good. So we're going to mark this as seen. We know that it's selling on Amazon for $40.45. Hover over bookfinder, see if there's a margin there. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer when you don't actually click it because it's right built into the software. So while there is a potential margin there after Amazon fees, because you see all the way on the left, although it's UK, so that's something you want to avoid, but let's just assume it wasn't. Even if it was the Amazon US, like it still wouldn't be profitable because you're spending $36.23 to get that book right there, and it's only selling for $40.45 on Amazon. So chances are, obviously, you'd lose money by doing that because, after the Amazon fees, because they'd be more than like $4. This one right here is selling for $53.31. Let's hover over the bookfinder after we check the restriction here. And this is good. This is literally how I do it. So you guys are getting different looks. I can sell it of books that, you know, might be good, might be bad, and etc. Right? So this is the one that we just marked as seen. It's selling for $53.31. Let's hover over bookfinder. And it's selling for $40 on eBay, so that's potentially profitable, but just barely. I don't want to spend $40, even if this was profitable, right? It's selling for $53, and I'll pull it up to show you really fast, but let's say it's selling for $53.31. If we pull up the bookfinder right here, it's not going to be profitable, and even if it is profitable, I'm not going to spend $40 or whatever it is right here on eBay to make like $1 or $2. It just doesn't make sense. Even though it's profitable, I just don't want to do that because then it's going to potentially tie up your cash flow that you can spend on a better product with a better margin, right? So it's selling for $53.31. Let's assume that we really could buy this on eBay for $39. If I pull up the FBA Calculator, of course it's going to work on this one, thank God. $53.31. And we're sourcing it for $39. It costs us $1 to ship it into FBA. It's going to show you that you're negative $1.41 profit, right? And even if this was like positive $2 or even like positive like $4 or $5, I still wouldn't want to spend $39 to make, you know, $2. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, right? So let's find a better one because obviously there's so many better ones out there. This one's selling for $77.09, but can we actually sell it? Perfect example of one you can't sell, right? See, so it says not available. You're not able to actually list this. You're not approved to list this product, and we're not currently accepting applications. Bam, that's a good example. So let's mark it as seen so we don't waste our time. I've already looked at this one, so let's look at this one. This one's selling for $81.99. Let's check to see if we can sell it. Not available. Another example of ones that we can't sell. So that one we're not able to sell. Let's try to find another one that's a little bit higher right here. So 96. So check this one right here. So we're going to go down. 96, we'll mark this one as seen. We'll check the restriction. And we are able to sell this one. So it's selling for $96.95. The bookfinder, I meant to hover over that, but that's fine. All right, so eBay, this is probably a good example of a book, right? So eBay selling for roughly $44. First thing we want to do is what, right? So we know that there's a potential margin. We'll figure it all out here in a second. But first thing we want to do is A, make sure that it's not an ebook. B, make sure that's the right edition. So it's the actual 7th edition, or 17th edition, excuse me. Or is that 7? I think that's 7th. And it's not an international or instructor edition, right? So if we go to the actual detail page of this book right here by clicking the ISBN number, and then we're going to click the book. And it is the paperback Introduction to Epidemiology, 7th edition, right? So that's exactly what we're seeing right here. 7th edition, Introduction to Epidemiology. I don't even know how to say that. Epidemiology, sounds right. Paperback edition, so that's perfect, right? So it doesn't look like, obviously, it's not the instructor or the international, but just to be safe, I always like to check. So like instructor, okay, no, it's not instructor, international. Okay, right there, international settings. But obviously that's not international edition, right? So that's a perfect example of something popping up for the searching, but that's not the international edition. That's the international settings. It is actually the 7th edition, as we can see right here in the picture. Now, the thumbnails aren't always accurate because sometimes, and this seller is obviously a good seller, so we can trust them. But sometimes, sketchy sellers will put the thumbnail of the actual book, but then down here they'll say like international or instructor. But generally speaking, if it's a reliable seller right here on eBay especially, then you can take the thumbnail at face value, and often in the actual picture on the book, it'll say like instructor edition or international edition. So that's another little kind of hack to find that, right? So here's a good example of a book that you can potentially buy and make money off of, right? So $40, about $4 shipping. So we'll round it up and we'll say $44 to our door, right? So $44 to our door. And if we actually go back to that, just to kind of show you right here, if we click Bookfinder, there's other opportunities to buy it on Abe Books for 46, on Alibris for 51. So both of those might be profitable as well, but let's check this first one. So you can potentially buy this 3 times and make good money on it. But let's check the first one right here. It sells for $96.95. We're going to buy it to our door for $44. So we're going to put those numbers in, $96.95. It's going to cost us $1 to ship it into FBA. It costs us $44 to our door. And this is a great opportunity to buy this book for $44 and make $30.68 simply for buying it on eBay and shipping into Amazon and listing it, matching the buy box price and letting it sell, right? So does it sell well? That's the next thing. Keepograph looks like it's been pretty consistent since the beginning of April, which was 2 months ago. Even back in, at the beginning of March, it was still selling for $84. Now, what is the sales rank? So it's a little bit higher of a sales rank, but that's normal, especially pre-textbook season. This will skyrocket down, not skyrocket, it will drop dramatically, and the price should relatively stay the same, if not increase. So it's a good opportunity to buy this pre-textbook season. What is the actual sales data though? It's still selling 6 daily sales and 197 monthly sales, so it's still a good opportunity to buy this product. Now, you also could use the online seller add-on, and that's basically just going to tell you the competition on the listing if you wanted to see, how many used offers, how many new offers, who's actually selling those books. But you can also simply just click like the new or the used tabs and kind of look through them. So for example, if I wanted to click the new tabs right here, I can see like, okay, the lowest new offer right here is from a seller that has horrible rating right here and a just launched seller, but neither of these are FBA. So I could also just click like the little prime and new to see if I ship this into FBA, who am I actually competing against? And it's only Amazon here at $96.95. So this is a great opportunity to buy this book. I'm going to buy this book as soon as we're done here, but this is how you use the Zen Arbitrage software to market bought as well. This is how you use the Zen Arbitrage software to basically find book leads that are going to spit you out, let the software do the work for you, and then you simply buy them, you ship them into Amazon FBA, and you make the money and the markup in profit.